induction, legendary captains and crew. Good friend of mine, Karl Anderson, Ray Rosher, Brad Simonds, Gene Vander Hoek, all people I've known for 30 plus years, and I'm here for them, and long live the IGFA.
Congratulations, Ray. Job well done. I got him talking about water skis.
Say, go Captain Karl.
Cheers.
How we doing? There you go.
Never working. Good.
Cheers.
Well, anyway, she's an exception.
How's it going? Welcome to the evening. It's going to be fun.
My name is Eric Combest, and I'm the Development Director for the International Game Fish Association. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2023 IGFA Tommy Gifford Awards. It's great to be back here at the Westin. We always appreciate all the hard work that the people around you are doing this evening. So thank you to everybody at the Westin. It's great to be back at the Fort Lauderdale International Boat Show. It's a great event. If you're looking around, you may notice that this room grew quite a bit from last year. This is actually the largest attendance we've ever had for the Tommy Gifford Awards. We've got 400 people in here. And as such, I need to do a couple of housekeeping notes to keep the evening moving. As most of you know, or people that have been here, we do professionally record this event. So we need everybody to keep it down as far as noise, please. And when you're at the back of the bars, please keep it down back there because the microphones pick it up. So if I come tap you on the shoulder, that means you're being a little too loud, and we just ask you to keep it down there. We've also got some great storytellers in the house. Sometimes they run a little too long. We don't like that because we've got too many other speakers. So if you're a speaker this evening, please keep it to 3 minutes. We know the stories are great. We all want to hear them. But we've got a lot of speakers tonight. We have 5 honorees this evening. So please keep that down to a minimum. One other thing before we get started that I want to do, if you could bring the slide up with the membership prize. One of the things we always like to do at this, we know a lot of you may not be IGFA members. We want to make sure that you can get a lot of good stuff and information from us, all the programs that you're going to hear tonight. On the back of your badge is a QR code. Everybody see that QR code? Let me see them. Let me see them out there. If you scan that code, you're going to get a digital membership for a year for IGFA, so you get the International Angler and all that good stuff. So scan it, and then somebody's getting this prize packet sitting over here on the side of the stage at the end of the night. So please scan those and become a member, because as you're going to hear, we're so much more than you think we are. All right, that's it for me. I would like to introduce our chairman, Mr. Roy Croniker, to please come up to the stage. Thank you, everybody.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and for the IGFA, echoing Eric's sentiments, would like to really thank you for attending this event. I think in the 13 years this event's going on, the room has been 220, 250. 400 is amazing. It is really wonderful to see you all. And a lot of friends out there, people that I've fished with, people maybe throw it off the boat. I wasn't a good enough fisherman, I don't know. But it's so good to meet with good friends and good people. I'd like to thank especially Skip Smith for his hard work, as well as a legendary Captain's Committee. They are the heart and soul of this event. And as Eric just mentioned, I always love this event because of the stories that we hear from our friends. Tonight, before I introduce or bring Jason Schratweiser, our president, on the stage, I'd like to make an important announcement. I'm not going to get too detailed. For 13 years, we've been trying to monetize the headquarters of the IGFA all the way back to Chairman Packy Oldfield, Chairman Carlos Duncan, and myself. We are in the middle of closing on the property. It'll close tomorrow, supposedly. Funds will be wired. We will have begun a $20 million fund endowment within the IGFA newly formed foundation. It is a whole new generation for the IGFA. We're going to be able to do so much more work, and have more funds to be able to dedicate to the programs we should be dedicated to. With that, Jason, please come to the stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Roy. And this is really exciting news about what's going on with the IGFA. We really are looking at a fundamental rebirth or transformation of the IGFA, and I'm very excited about it. And I want to thank Roy for his hard work. Roy, you did a lot to make this happen, so a round of applause to you. All right, good evening, everybody. And welcome to what has become probably the most spirited night in all of sport fishing. And as we've said before, congratulations on being part of the biggest Tommy Gifford Awards ceremony that we've ever had. So give yourselves a round of applause. Tonight is all about honoring the captains and crew that make our sport great. They're the pioneers. They're the innovators, and they're the mentors that craft the next generation of watermen and women. So congratulations to all of you that are being inducted tonight. As special as this evening is, and exciting to be around new friends, old friends, and swapping stories, it's also a humble reminder of how ephemeral life is. Since we last met last year at this gathering, we've unfortunately lost 3 members of the Tommy Gifford Awards. Captain Peter B. Wright, Jack Morrow, and Billy Fairbairn. And while they're no longer with us, they'll always be part of the history of sport fishing in the IGFA. And I'd like to request a brief moment of silence for us to remember them. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think most of you know the IGFA works ardently to conserve and study billfish, and I think that's pretty important to this crowd. In fact, by show of hands, how many of you would say that you're pretty ardent billfish enthusiasts? Show of hands. That's quite a few people in there. This takes both time and money, and I'm pleased to announce that the IGFA has recently established a dedicated billfish research and conservation endowment. And this is founded by IGFA trustee Bob Kurz and his wife Sally, along with IGFA trustee emeritus Tim Choate. Anchored by a planned gift of $1.3 million, the IGFA is currently raising $1 million that's going to be matched dollar for dollar. This will initially, and the key word here is initially, result in a $3.3 million endowment that will only be used to study and conserve billfish in perpetuity. We publicized this initiative in June, and I'm pleased to announce that with just 15 donors, we are now just $202,000 shy of meeting our $1 million match. Thank you. Hold your applause. One of the founders and several of the donors that have made this happen are in the audience tonight, and I'd like them to stand and receive a round of applause for leaving a lasting legacy for billfish. So please stand. Come on, guys, don't be shy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is really exciting. This endowment will only grow over time and will serve to ensure a bright future for billfish forever. So we're very excited about this, on top of the great news that Roy just delivered about the sale of the IGFA HQ and our increase in our endowment. So great stuff happening there. Okay, moving on. Before I get started with the honorees, I'd like to take a few minutes to recognize the people and sponsors that make this event possible. First and foremost, thank you very much to Captain Skip Smith and Skip's Tournaments. Thank you, Skip. This year, sponsors flew out of the woodwork, and I'm very pleased and very grateful to see the great amount of sponsors that we have to honor the people that are getting in this year. I want to thank first our Marlin sponsors. When I mention your name, if you just raise your hand or stand, that would be great. Again, our IGFA Chairman, Roy Croniker. IGFA Trustee, Mike Criscola. IGFA Trustee, Mark Davis. And on to our sailfish sponsors. We have quite a few here too. Andros Boatworks, Andrew Egbrecht, thank you very much. Bayless Boatworks, thanks Sean Bayless for coming out and supporting us. We appreciate it. Bergeron Emergency Service, thank you, Ron Bergeron Jr. Contender Boats, thank you to IGFA Trustee Amanda Sabin. Jarrett Bay, courtesy of Randy Ramsey. And finally, to our Dorado sponsors, who we have quite a few. We have Jonathan Dale Miller Foundation, courtesy of George and Sharon Hengis, affectionately known as Uncle George and Aunt Sharon. Thank you very much. The Guy Harvey Foundation, thanks to IGFA Trustee Emeritus Guy Harvey. Thanks so much, Guy. You've always been such a great supporter of the IGFA. Coming in again, Guy Harvey Resorts. Thank you, Mark Ellert. Ola Yacht Sales, courtesy of IGFA Trustee Ajay Vicente and Jose Vicente. Thank you. Northern Lights, courtesy of Sam Hill and Kit Purdy. Pure Fishing, thanks to my good friend Dave Boltice. Dave, thanks for coming out and making this. One of our recipients, Captain Brad Simonds, came in with 2 sponsorships, South of 7 and Southpaw Fishing. Thank you very much. And finally, Spencer Yachts, courtesy of Captain Paul Spencer. Thank you very much. How many of you have had the rum outside? A few, I hope. Well, I'd also like to thank Florida Cognac and IGFA Trustee Emeritus Carlos Pellis for supplying the specialty rum tonight. The IGFA, yeah, give them a hand. The IGFA, as I always say, is blessed to have a wonderful board of trustees. These men and women are super engaged. They're involved with the IGFA. They give, they roll up their sleeves, they participate, and they're great to IGFA staff. And I would like to recognize a few other board members that I haven't already spoken of tonight. So when I mention your name, please, stand up. Terry Andrews, are you with us tonight? All right. Excuse me. I've already mentioned Tim Chewett, our IGFA Trustee Emeritus and IGFA Hall of Fame inductee. Carlos Duncan, our past chairman and trustee emeritus. Thank you, Carlos, for being part of this. And finally, Sam Peters. Sam, thanks for all you do for the IGFA, buddy. Really appreciate it. This doesn't happen by itself. I come up and I say a few words. Roy says a few words, but there is a lot of work on the back end that goes into this. I want to thank all of the IGFA staff that have put in a lot of man hours to throw a great party. And I can safely say that I think IGFA throws some of the best parties, if not the best parties, in all of sport fishing. So thank you all for doing that. Moving on, I want to add additional thanks to our legendary Captains and Crew Committee. This is the body of individuals that are renowned throughout the world that really put together a rigorous process to ensure that each year we have a great pool of candidates that come in and receive this prestigious award. And I want to go down the list to recognize them. Our chairman, Captain Skip Smith. Vice Chairman Karl Anderson, Bobby Brown, Bart Garnsey, Billy Harrison, Steve Lasley, the one and only Mike Myatt, Charles Perry, Bouncer Smith, Gary Stuve, and Lori Wright. Okay, I've talked enough. It's time to get this evening started. Tonight, Captain Skip Smith will be your master of ceremonies. As you already know, Skip is the chairman of the legendary Captains and Crew, but he's also pretty well known in the fishing world. As the captain of Jerry and Deborah Dunaway's Madam and the Hooker, he fished in 25 countries on an 11-year quest to break billfish records. Over his career, he's amassed 49 IGFA world records, most of them for billfish. He is also an IGFA Tommy Gifford recipient himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome longtime IGFA friend, Skip Smith.
Man, there's some lights coming out of tonight. Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Jason. Tonight, we will be presenting the Tommy Gifford Award to 5 inductees. It's not easy picking these guys when we sit and go through these meetings, so to us in the committee, it's very special to have these people here and to receive this award. To read from the script a little bit here, Tommy Gifford is considered one of the most greatest charter skippers to guide anglers to the major game fishes of the sea. He began his charter career in Miami along with Bouncer Smith in 1920. Gifford was the first to use outriggers on the East Coast, and one of his things was the first to catch an Atlantic blue marlin on an outrigger. Throughout his 50-year career, he developed an encyclopedic knowledge of game fishing techniques to catch them. And he served as a guide and consultant to some of those famous names in saltwater angling back then, including Van Kempton Hollander, Charlie Lehman, Michael Lerner, and Ernest Hemingway. Raymond Camp once wrote, "Big game angling has a brief history, but Tommy Gifford's name is sharply etched on every page." In this room this evening, we have quite a few past recipients of this prestigious award. If you can, please stand and recognize, and I'll call your name. Bubba Carter, Billy Harrison, Mike the Beak Hurt, Charles Perry, Chip Schaefer, the longest speech we ever had. Where are you, Chip? Bouncer Smith, Gary Stuve. He might be the oldest now. Sorry about that. R.T. Trossett from the Keys. R.T. All right, here we go. Showtime. Tonight we're honoring 5 new Tommy Gifford recipients. Just to name them real quick: Karl Anderson, Ray Rosher, Brad Simonds, Paul Spencer, Gene Vander Hoek. Real quick, the primary criteria for receiving the Tommy Gifford Award from the IGFA is that the captain and crew member must have provided leadership in their trade and have earned the respect of their peers, thus making a meaningful contribution to the sport of recreational angling. Someone didn't do it? And in angling, recreational angling over an extended period, the nominee must demonstrate that he or she has espoused the ethical angling standards by the founders of IGFA. Behind me on the stage is the Tommy Gifford Award Perpetual Trophy, and each of these honorees is enshrined on it. The trophy is housed at IGFA headquarters. And now, let's begin with our first honoree. Here we go. Number 1, Karl Anderson. Tonight, we start off the evening with Captain Karl Anderson. Before we hear from him, a few people would like to speak on his behalf. First, let's open the night up with someone that gets a little looser, and much to the chagrin of the IGFA president, the past president, Rob Kramer, during the early years of these award ceremonies, a lot less appropriate the later the evening gets. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome legendary captain and crew member Mike Maya to the stage. It's all yours, Mike. Oh. I want the children to sit.
If you get earplugs for the children, it'd be a really good time to put them in. Now, these are not the glasses that I need to have on right now. But anyway, proud to be up here. It's been a long time addressing a room full of IGFA supporters, the board, my fellow workers. Never thought I'd be up here again. It used to be like this. Jackie Chan would bring me a vodka or 2 or 6. But, I'm real pleased to be up here tonight. Real happy about the direction the IGFA has gone in the last couple of years. Jason, you've done an excellent job. Roy, thank you very much. The whole board and the crew that we have right now working there, which I still consider myself part of it. Very, very proud to be part of it. The whole Tommy Gifford Awards came about with Skip and I sitting around for a couple of years, everyone neglecting us, and we got it going, and it started out with about 120 attendees, and tonight we have close to 400-ish, maybe even more than 400. But I digress. I'm up here tonight to speak about one of my true great friends. Hey, Kyle over there. Jesus. Up in Dover, Foxcroft, and Dexter area, we're having some problems right now with a madman going around killing innocent people. And if I could get 10 seconds of silence for the innocent people and children that lost their lives in Maine, I'd really appreciate it. Yeah, it's impossible to keep me quiet for 10 seconds. I had 5 brothers. I literally would light myself on fire to get attention. I want to thank Carl's family for being down here. Chris, Marge, Debbie, Zane, and the rest of the family. You guys being here in supporting the captain means the world to me, and it means the world to Karl. You know, there's not many people that started their career at 13 years old, unless your parents were from Dover Foxcroft or up there in Maine where they worked in shoe factories. So Karl got his first job as a paid mate at the age of 13, which you started late, bro. Everyone else in Maine started at 8. But when you have your life calling at that age and you have aspirations, I'm going to tell you some things you know about Karl, and then I'm going to tell you some things you don't know about Karl, which could be like horrifying. His career includes boat innovation with Seacraft and Mako. I mean, you know, Karl, what you did down there was absolutely amazing. You brought them from the Stone Age to actually drier boats. I'm not going to say the driest boats, but drier boats. All right? He fished the SKA. I don't know if a lot of you guys knew that, but there was a very formidable team in the SKA that was comprised of Captain Karl Anderson, Captain Rob Fordyce, and Captain Peter B. Wright, God rest his soul, one of my very good friends. It's okay, you can applaud, or, you know, pick that fennel thing out of your teeth. Karl, over the years of being a captain, has caught and released over 1,000 marlin and tuna, which is absolutely incredible. He's captained some of the best boats with some of the best owners, and I know a couple of them are here tonight. Mark Davis, Carlos Duncan, and Leslie. He's fished everywhere. He's fished from Key West to Nova Scotia. And in between, he's done Australia, Madeira, Mexico, Isla, you name it. Karl has been there. And he's had the good fortune of fishing with a myriad of great captains and crew. CP, Bart Garnsey, Peter B., Skippy. I mean, it's just Bobby. I mean, there's just no end to what he's done. But I have to argue, as the youngest recipient ever of getting this award, I look at your resume and I think you're, I don't know, Skip's age. He has written over 1,000 magazine articles. He is an award-winning photographer and videographer. As a matter of fact, him and CP were dragging some, I guess they were video cameras, Karl, that you guys came up with. They're the first underwater cameras of a marlin and a sailfish bite. The marlin coming over in St. Thomas and the sailfish coming over in Isla. And that was pretty incredible. And they did it on the Shahara 3 and the Cat's Meow. He's been a long-time IGFA rep. He's been a lot of things. I'm going to tell you 3 things that you don't know about Karl. Sorry, Karl. So Karl was a long-time cameraman for one of our beloved IGFA Hall of Famers, Mark Sosin. And their code word was C, got the shot. So they were down fishing at Tropic Star Lodge, and they had some world-renowned fly guy stuff on the boat, and they were catching a bunch of sailfish on them. And Mark Sosin said, "You know, Karl, I could probably catch one of these on a cigar." So Karl promptly rigged it up, and there's film footage of Mark feeding a cigar to a Pacific sailfish with the tobacco exploding. And rumor has it later that day in a trash line they found a little baby's flip-flop and they replicated it. So good for you, Karl. We were in China, of all the places in the world. I was in China with Karl Anderson, then President Rob Kramer, and Jason Schratweiser, now president. So we had a great trip. They wanted IGFA to come over there and help them establish a recreational fishing industry, which involved a lot of different stuff. Them taking our passports when we showed up was a pretty big harbinger of things that were going to come. So we went out on one of our sponsors' boats, and we were 12 miles out into the South China Sea, only to find out the generators weren't working. And how we found that out was our beer was cold. You remember Jason? And so we had to figure out a way to get back to shore. And there was a bunch of videos, a bunch of banter going on. But Karl, like this, called the guy in the States and was able to get us 12 miles offshore back into the harbor on a joystick. And when I say that it was rough, the captain of the boat was getting seasick, both mates were getting seasick. The only people that weren't getting seasick was a contingent from IGFA, and the only thing we bitched about was warm beer. The third story is my favorite story. In 2005, I was at Tropic Star Lodge. Terry Andrews, you probably remember that week. But I was down there with Raleigh Working and Dave Bultice. So we show up at the lodge a day after Karl, his good friend Dave Riot, and his father Chris were down there. So we walk in, and there's like 15 guys from the Mid-Atlantic. They're all getting rowdy, they're all buzzed up. And I guess the night before, they watched Karl and Dave and his dad walk in. And they're like, easy marks. So we're having a Calcutta. We'd like to get all three of you guys into the Calcutta for $100 a piece. And as crazy as it is, Karl and Dave and his dad smoked them in every single category, took all their money. At the end of the night, Karl made them all IGFA members, but he left them with words of wisdom, which was, hey, you know what, you guys? You're all shiny, you're all buying new boats, you all make a lot of money, but the next time you see an old guy, a drunk, and a fat guy walk into a place, maybe you ought to figure out, I want to say the F word, but I won't, who the hell they are. So anyway, it's my pleasure, to speak for Karl. Karl, I love you like a brother. And thank you guys for listening to me for 4 minutes. Sorry, Jason, I went over for 1 minute. C. You got it. You got it.
You're a mess. It only gets better from here, believe me. Thank you, Mike. At this time, I would like to invite Mark O'Brien to the stage to share another few stories of our favorite Captain Karl.
It's bright up here. As most of these stories begin, I met Karl in the early 80s, and actually I think it was in Australia. And then I met him subsequently 2 or 3 times in the Bahamas. And as it will happen, the fish aren't cooperating, so you sit back and you chat and you chat. And I thought there were quite a few unique qualities in Karl. And I think if you know him well, or certainly as well as I do, you would agree with this. Karl is a man of many values, which we don't see often enough in the fishing world. He respects the fish, he respects the boats he drives, and he respects the people that are on the boat. And I can give you some examples of that, but we got together on a fairly permanent basis, probably in the very early 90s. So I've known Karl for close to 45 years. And those of you who have spent time on a boat know you spend a lot of time with people on the boat. And we went to many destinations, and I'll digress for a moment. As a very youngster, I was the guy who read all the books about places in the world, and boats and fishes. And, you know, I was able, fortunately, to live out most of my dreams. And Karl, in large measure, helped me do that. And in some cases, actually, more than assisted, almost directed me to do that. So I think his instincts are really, really good. But more importantly, about the time he and I got together, and we decided we would go on this path, and I had some young sons and a stepdaughter. And, you know, we sat down and we thought about what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. And I think it was interesting that the formula that actually I believe he came up with, and I certainly agreed with it. The first was that on all these things we wanted to do, nobody gets hurt, ever. Safety is first. When the captain says no, it's no. He can say it to any of my family. He can say it to me. And fishing is fun, and we should try and do as well as we can, but we're not going to compromise the ship or the crew. And those values have held steadfast through our entire relationship. And we've been through, 4 or 5 boats together, all of them beautiful ships that he's run magnificently. He cared for them. But I can tell you, other than an attack of the gout that I had, I don't think there's been an injury on the boat ever. And so the values that he laid out way back then held true today. And that's not insignificant. You know, he is organized and taken the various briar patches to all the places that I dreamed about going when I was a very youngster. And the fish are important, but they're fish in almost every sea. And it's kind of fun to try and figure out how to catch one that doesn't live in your backyard. And having said that, you know, I grew up and I've watched Karl over the years. You know, I would look down, and if I could see a pinfish, I had to try and catch it because simply it was there and it was an opportunity to do it. And so as I stand at the podium tonight and I look at the crowd and the people that came to celebrate Karl and the others who have been acclaimed by their peers, you know, I can say with a great deal of confidence, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark O'Brien. Guess what time it is now? Captain Karl Anderson, please come to the stage to accept the Tommy Gifford Award.
Wait, hold on. Oh, shit, I don't have my phone up myself. Damn. When I graduated college, I walked up there, and I was in a TV major, and I walked up with a video camera on my shoulder to show my mom and dad, fucking A, I did it. I graduated. Oh, man. Look at this room. Look at who's here. How in the hell did Karl Anderson from Beach Haven, New Jersey, get to this place? It's from all you guys, you know, my heroes. Skip, Barky, Charles Perry, man. You changed my life in Cat Key. You brought me under your wing and showed me so much. Roy Merritt, you give me the best boats you could ever imagine to drive. Mark O'Brien, man. That guy, we had a 37 Rybovich, a 45 Rybovich, a 58 Merritt, a 72 Merritt. Hello?
how does a dumbass like me from a little sandbar in New Jersey get to drive a boat like that? It's my dad. That's how. Because from the very, very first minute I walked, you gotta understand, that guy right there. Do you know when I was 5 years old, I had a little dinghy that I could row around our little lagoon. We grew up on the water. By the time I was 6, I was good. He trusted me enough to give me a motor. I got a 3-horsepower motor. Then I got a little boat. We built a 16-footer in our garage. He introduced me to boat building. He introduced me to duck hunting. He introduced me to fishing. He introduced me to every damn thing that I love so much in this world. And my family. My family is everything to me, and they're all here tonight. There is nothing greater in this world than sharing your life with your family. And they didn't have a clue what I was doing. I'm living a Jimmy Buffett song down in Bimini with CP and John Sabonis on the Cat's Meow, Bart, and all the boys. Man, we're like doing all this stuff, and they had no idea what was going on, but I left college. I didn't think I was going to graduate. There was a few tense moments. But anyway, we finished that. We got the degree. We did everything. And the boys on the boat were always like, get your degree, Carl, man. Do it. And those boys on the Cat's Meow supported me every minute of the way. I've had so many great mates and captains that taught me how to do shit. And my mates made me so good. John Brownlee got me into writing. Thank you, JB. The first editor I ever had was Barry Gibson from Saltwater Sportsman. There's no better. I've been blessed to be on the pages of Marlin for many, many years. Thank you all. The owners that I've had to work with, Mark O'Brien, 30 years of briar patches. Come on, man. How many guys in here have been with one owner for 30 years? Not too many. Rob Fondren, Tsunami, 55 merit. Carlos and Leslie Duncan, 63 merit. John and Susie Richardson, 42 merit. Let's see, there's another one in there. Oh, Andy Agerbrecht, Andros Boats, 42 and 53 merit. There's a common theme here. It's a merit boat. Thank you, Roy. I get to spend a lot of time with Roy Merritt. We do a lot of things, and he's a great friend, and I get to spend a lot of time with him, and I've learned so much. And from the time I first went in that place when I was a kid, Roy Merritt was so friendly to me. And now I work out of Roy Merritt's yard. I do things with Roy. There's nothing that I could say to ever repay you for your friendship and the opportunities you've given me, and I appreciate it so much. I've had the best deckhands you could ever have. All of them have funny names: Basher, Nostril, Kangaroo, La Bichuela. They all have nicknames. They're all from Australia. I've had great mates. Tim Spud Sperling, one of the greatest, one of the best ever. So lucky. Charlie Stuve. Anyway, I want to say one thing. There's an organization in this world that has been the leader in our industry, and it's the IGFA for over 80 years. We have the angling rules, the benchmark that we all live our life to if you're out there on the water. Line class, records, you name it, whatever. The IGFA is the body. There's a couple of posers out there doing tournaments for millions of dollars, and they're trying to say shit. They don't know nothing. They're out. See you later, bye. It's the IGFA. I would ask you all to support the efforts of the IGFA and the conservation efforts that we've seen in my lifetime, where we used to kill everything. Everything got hung on the deck. Now we have catch and release, we have circle hooks, we have everything. Get behind a conservation effort. Clean water. Catch and release. Make it count, folks, because it's all we got. And if we don't have clean water and we don't have fish to catch, we ain't got shit. Sorry. I know I forgot a few folks, but I just want to say I'm so honored to be part of this industry and to have been a little part of it and to be here to watch this great thing happen. Thank you very, very much.
The next Tommy Gifford Award recipient is Captain Ray Rosher. Don't come up yet, Ray. At this time, Captain Billy Harrison would like to start off. Come on up, Billy.
Well, one of the things I always question when I meet a fisherman or fish boat captain is how did they get interested in fishing? What was the very first thing that made them choose this profession or occupation for the rest of their lives? Ray first fished with me in the summer of 1980 after he graduated high school at age 17. I built a 34-foot commercial fishing boat with a hydraulic system running off a Caterpillar diesel engine in the late 1970s and fished swordfish, grouper, and tilefish. I decided to try spending the summer in Key West fishing the deep water and driving the fish back to my full-time dock at Pier 5 in downtown Miami. I had a retail fish market behind my boat at Pier 5 that let us sell anything that swam. I knew Jimmy Lewis because his father, Bob, docked 4 slips south of me. Jimmy wanted to fish with me in Key West that summer, and he had a best friend named Ray Rosher, who, according to Jimmy, liked fishing as much as Jimmy. Jimmy used to come down with his spinning rod and spend day after day after day at the boat catching everything. The schedule was simple. We would drive from Miami to Key West on Monday and check into the motel room I had booked for the summer. Then it was off to Oceanside Marina to fuel the boat. The next stop was the ice house, where we loaded a couple thousand pounds of ice that would last us all week. The boat had a 1,000-pound fish box on the deck and 3,000-pound below-deck fish hold. While we were doing this, Jimmy and Ray were sharpening hooks, making rigs, and cutting bait. Tuesday morning arrived quickly when the alarm went off at 4:30 a.m. and the two mates realized what work was all about. The boat was moving long before daylight as everything got set up and everything that we needed for the deep water bottom, and still kept 2 ballyhoo outrigger baits on the surface. I always faced the boat into the current when I bottom fish, so the surface baits paid off every day. As the day progressed, both mates learned how to fish the hydraulic reels that are called bandits. These rigs are like a small davit with a fiberglass arm and a pulley at the end of the arm. Since you can control the speed of the reel, the more fish you have on, the slower you want to run the reel. You can walk away from the reel and get a sandwich or a drink as the reel catches the fish for you. It is very common to pulley several fish up and have a big dolphin or wahoo eat the ballyhoo on the surface bait. Several times each day, Ray's and Jimmy's bandits would be pulling a string of fish up, and each mate would be catching some sort of fish on the surface. I would move to the stern station where I had a clutch throttle steering wheel. I could steer the boat and run the 2 bandits at the same time. Once the groupers, tilefish, or barrelfish reach the surface, they simply float behind the boat. 1 hour before dark, I would head the boat to the dock as Ray and Jimmy gutted and stacked the fish before icing the catch. The challenge was to shower and make it to the restaurant before it closed. Every Friday night, we drove back to Miami and loaded the fish into a huge dock box. Saturday and Sunday at 12 noon, we started selling fish and it went nonstop till 8 or 9 that night. Any 17-year-old who can do this for over 2 months and still like fishing has to be tough. In 1986, Ray flew to Puerto Rico to join me and Ralph Christensen Jr. on board the 50-foot Whitaker called Pescador. We departed for St. Thomas the next day for 8 days of great marlin fishing. Ralph did not want to ride back with a boat, so Monte Padilla from Mexico wanted to go if he could fish for a couple of hours before we turned west and ran to Puerto Rico. Since I frequently sold fish in Puerto Rico, we put a 390 and a 360-pound blue marlin in the boat before we ran home. As the years went by, Ray fished with me in places like Bimini, Walker's, and Chub Cay. Our last project was working with Costa Sun Glass Company, making a movie of Roy Merritt catching a 800-pound bluefin tuna on the Caliban out of Cat Cay. If I were to stand here and read all the tournaments that Ray won as a captain, this place would be serving us coffee, bacon, and eggs, and I still would be not finished. Ray deserves this. I'm gone.
Thank you, Captain Billy Harrison. At this time, I'd like to invite Nick Smith to the stage to share a couple of his stories. We're going to get the kids first.
As we jigged for tinker mackerel nearly 40 miles off the coast of Nantucket this summer, a bluefin hit the 130 and was gone in a flash. Drag ripping, we chased this thing down as I reeled as hard as I could. After an adrenaline-pumping fight, my dad went to gaff it, and this 100-pound fish dragged him straight into the 60-degree water. That's the first time he's ever gone overboard in his 44 years of professional fishing. He chose not to let go because he knew how much it meant to me. It may seem insignificant, but this is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Ray Rosher's selflessness and true compassion. We all know him for his magnificent list of accomplishments in the fishing world. He's changed the lives of so many young mates in Florida and around the world. I can name dozens. Some became captains, some traveled the world, and others went on to thrive in other careers. But there's one common denominator in their success: his thorough, patient, and diligent leadership as a captain. Beyond telling them what they needed to know, he taught them unshaking perseverance. Just as he always says about his mentor, Captain Bill Harrison, he taught all of us how to think. In my life, I've seen the benefits of these values far beyond fishing. Whether you're a welder or a rocket scientist, you really can't get anywhere with only talent or luck. His humility, integrity, and immense work ethic made him the man who he is today, not just catching fish. In that sense, he gave me the tools to separate wisdom from knowledge. Few words can describe the impact my dad has made on my life. One that often comes to mind, though, is transformational. He taught me that it's often more important to be kind than to be right, a principle he lives by daily. His passion as a father and a steward of the outdoors is contagious. You can see it in his constant optimism. There aren't many people I know who are as undeniably thankful and compassionate. I've shared so many unforgettable memories with him that it's hard to complain when school or other things stress me out. After all, he always reminds me that school is important, but fishing is importanter. I think far less about the umpteen times I've heard my name screamed from the bridge or the grueling summer boatyard work than the magical moments he and I were able to share on the water or in the woods. From hunting down a 140s class buck as an 11-year-old in Maryland, while he filled me in on the birds and the bees, to the loft bed and desk we built from raw cypress, oak, and cedar, and to the countless trips and unforgettable catches he's helped me be a part of. He's shown me the riches that can't fit in your wallet. My father has given me the keys to a beautiful life, and his constant love and wise words have shaped me into the man that I am today. As I enter adulthood, I can only hope to become half the man he is right now. But he's given me the building blocks to an incredible future and instilled a deep love of the outdoors within my soul. We're here to commemorate my dad's induction into the IGFA Hall of Fame, not because of his personal achievements, but rather because his success spread far beyond himself as he continues to teach, uplift, and inspire those around him to greatness. I think he's more than deserving of the Tommy Gifford Award, and I'm eternally grateful to have him as a father and a friend.
That was a really good speech, just letting you guys know. This might sound really bad, but I'm not the biggest fisherman in my family. So, as a kid, I always thought people were being polite when they'd say that my dad was a legend. And sometimes I still think that. So it's safe to say that I'm not the best person to come up here and tell you why I think he deserves this award. However, I can tell you why I believe my dad should be celebrated nonetheless. To you guys, Captain Ray Rosher is an extraordinary captain who can tell a million stories with a million code words I may never understand. Or you may not even know him at all. But to me, Captain Ray Rosher isn't Captain Ray Rosher. It's just Dad. To me, Captain Ray Rosher is the guy who makes banana chocolate chip pancakes every Sunday morning. He's the guy who will run to the grocery store the minute I make a comment about how I'm craving my favorite yogurt. He's the guy who sometimes, if my puppy eyes are convincing enough, will even get me Starbucks after school. As you can tell, he knows the way to my heart. But more than that, a person as selfless as my dad continues to set my standards higher time and time again. He's the guy who built a shelf when I didn't have a place to put my cups. And as Dakota was saying, they built a loft together when he needed more space in his room. I mean, that's crazy. It sets him apart from the rest of the world, for more than just his ability to catch fish or to boss people around. He's set apart because of his character. I may not be able to tell you the biggest fish he's caught, but I can tell you better than anyone why I feel he deserves this honor as more than just a fisherman, but as a father and a human being. Part of the reason for his success, I believe, is due to his unmoving values and moral compass. And when I say success, I don't mean we're the wealthiest people in the room, but he is undeniably successful in life because you can tell he loves living it. One story my dad would always tell us was as he was fishing as a teenager under Bill, the person who was just talking, he told me that one time he dropped a grouper in the water and he told Bill that it was a rosefish so that he wouldn't get in trouble. But Bill saw the carcass floating in the water and made direct eye contact with my dad, and it still haunts him to this day. I'm sorry, but if a lie you told when you were 17 still haunts you 45 years later, you're either a saint or a robot. And let me tell you, I'm starting to think that this guy is a robot. He doesn't know how to relax. Even when he has a day off on a Sunday, you'll either find him at church or in the kitchen cleaning the dishes. He's a legitimate freak of nature when it comes to hard work. He built his success from scratch, literally. He constructed his first boat by hand in his 30s. I don't know about you guys, but I can barely make my bed in the morning without help. Sometimes I wonder how I'm even related to him. He has a social battery of like a kindergarten teacher. More than his undying morals, grit, and a large portion of his success, a large portion of his success comes from his ability to connect with people. I don't think I've ever met anybody who knows as many people as my dad. For his wedding, he was afraid that if he sent out invitations, he would leave some people out, so he made it open invite. And that day, 200 people crammed into my backyard. They didn't even have to order catering. Everybody brought their own share of dishes. And my uncle, he got up on the roof and he took a photo. And that photo to this day is their desktop saver. And if you look close enough, you can point out the people who are still closely intertwined with our lives 20 years later. I don't know what's more impressive, knowing that many people or maintaining the connections between them. Personally, as a kid, I always wondered why that many people would even want to talk to my dad. He was just a normal guy, an extraordinarily kind guy, but still a guy. It may have been his humility or maybe his sense of humor, but it was more likely due to his insightfulness. When I was younger, my dad was my favorite teacher. Though I hate to give him too much of an ego boost, he's one of the smartest people I know. Him winning this award not only solidifies his presence in the world as an accomplished man, but also as an inspiration for his children and for everyone else in this room that cares for him as much as we do. Captain Ray Rosher is proof that success is not just about wit and determination. He is living proof that true success can only exist within those who are honest, humble, and kind.
Thank you, thank you. And now a couple of words from Nick Smith. Come on up, Nick.
Rosher, you told me I wasn't going to be doing this. You know, I've always thought of myself as being more of a crewman than I was a fisherman. And when I started fishing in Miami after our sailfish season sort of waned away in Palm Beach and Stewart, I started coming down to catch more fish in Miami. And there were some folks down there that, for some reason, just opened their arms up and welcomed me. There's one of them over there, my buddy Captain Bouncer. A couple of folks that I didn't see here, maybe they're here, but the Dudas family, John Sr., John Louie, a whole lot of others that just, boy, they taught me a whole lot. Because we were fishing against each other in the tournaments. But along the way, for some reason, Captain Ray Rosher and I got sort of connected on some commonality on how we did things and how we thought about what we wanted to do and how to make fishing better. And we ended up starting fishing together. Well, I'm not going to make this a whole long story because I don't have to speak for Ray Rosher. Everybody here knows that Ray's been an amazing success story. So many tournament wins and so much success wherever he's fished. But I'm just going to make this as short as I can. With everybody that I know, and I've got a lot of close friends that are in this organization and this fraternity of Tommy Gifford Award winners, that commonality is that you start with what's inside right here because you love it. And you're searching to be the best, and you're loving what you do. And nobody amplifies that more, or exemplifies that more than Ray Rosher. I'm proud to call him my friend, and congratulations, Ray.
Captain Ray Rosher, please come on up to stage to accept the Tommy Gifford IGFA Award.
Look at that. Wow. Holy cow. I really don't know what just happened. I think I just found a new marketing team. Wow, I think my kids want a raise. I've got a lot to deal with tomorrow. Well, what an honor. Doesn't seem like all these years could have gone by this quick, but man, we had a lot of fun. A lot of good people in this room that shared in a lot of great times. I want to thank the IGFA. Like Karl said, great organization, deserves support. And the most important thing for me about what's happening tonight is that the guys that voted for the 5 of us are guys that we all just admire and respect. And that's probably one of the greatest honors in life, is to have your peers approve. But this evening is really special for all 5 of us, not necessarily because of the trophy, but because of who's sitting in this room. The most important thing in life, I tell a lot of my young mates and my kids, is that there are 2 kinds of riches in this world. Those that you pay the bills with, and then those that don't fit in your wallet.
And what's experienced here amongst all these people are those riches that will not fit in my wallet or yours. So I really appreciate what you guys have given us. Thank you. The really amazing thing is that all 5 of us could probably get our awards taken away from us if you guys just spilled the beans on the times we ran aground, ran out of fuel. I'm just saying, maybe keep that a little bit on the down low tonight anyways. So, well, it's important that we all remember how we got here, right? Like Carl said, it starts as a kid. My grandfather, Rosher, Albert Rosher, jumped on a ship when he was 13 or 14 years old in England and went around the world a few times, gave me an amazing black and white photo album. But he landed in Miami in the 30s and met Grandma. The rest is history, but he loved to fish on the drift boats. 3 days a week he would, he'd go on the drift boat. And really cool grandpa. He'd sneak me out of school, My parents thought I was going to be a total failure, so thank you, Grandpa. Anyways, but also my dad took me in the Everglades, and of course, I probably had a medical condition that needed medicine, but just couldn't sit still, wanted to fish all day, and all those things were the foundation that helped spark something inside of me, and I really appreciate that. My mom, obviously not here with us now, but I have to give her a lot of thanks. She was just an angel. It was kind of funny. I'd hunt with my dad on the weekends out in the Everglades, bunch of absolute roughnecks, drinking whiskey, crazy stuff. And then I'd come home Sunday night, go to Bible study with Mom all week long, And then next weekend, so I don't even know, how I, buddy. I think it was kind of good, it kept me right down the middle there. But and then I've had the luxury of 2 moms, Darlene. Just have wonderful moms in my life, so thank you very much. And then there was my first babysitter. No, it's not what you think. It was Pete Schultz. So I'd fish on the Juneau Pier for so many hours, my dad would give up on me, and he would pawn me off on Pete Schultz, the poor guy. And when he got tired of answering my stupid questions, he would give me a grocery cart, garbage can full of salt water, and tell me $1 a dozen for pilchards and 25 cents a croaker. They had bait tanks there, So in reality, he was not only my babysitter, but he was my math teacher. Learned pretty quick how to add up dollars. I think that factored in. So in life, so many things happen that you don't realize where it's going to take you. My dad bowled on Thursday nights with Bob Lewis, and Jimmy Lewis was my age. Next thing you know, we're fishing on the weekends, flats fishing. Next thing, we're fishing with Bob in the Kelly's boat. And the paths they took me down were amazing. And of course, the Kelly family, Lloyd Kelly, Pat and Nick, they gave me a chance when I did not literally know how to turn on the engine. They walked me through it. And I thank you for that. They're here tonight. I just spent 20 years, 1979 to 99, working on the Tropicat with them, and just what a special time. Lots of fish, not a lot of technology, so you had to learn. Then there was Bill Harrison. He was one of the greatest and is one of the greatest mentors in my life. The neat thing about Bill, he was one of the smartest guys I fished with, but he would not answer a question straightforward. He would always answer the question with a question. He was that smart because he knew that would create in me the ability to figure out things and let you make your mistakes. And it was so wise. But more importantly, he taught me how to work hard and how to be a good man, just like my dad and my grandfather and Bob and the Kellys. All of those people, it just shaped so many things that I'm greatly appreciative of today. Then there were the people I got to fish with, Dick and June Cyrus, some of the kindest, most generous people, and the IGFA actually brought us together. They came to fish for swordfish for their lifetime slam. And after doing that, next thing you know, we're hunting together on their farm in Alabama, and then Dad's hunting with them, and next thing you know, we're family, so thank you. Then there is this crazy guy named Scott Siegel sitting right over there. We fished the IGFA Offshore World Championship 2005. I think if you looked up confidence, you Googled it, I think he would be first page. We walk into the Finisterre Hotel. He introduces himself, Charmaine, Scott, Tom. We'd never seen a striped marlin, but we brought everything, kite stuff, live bait, dead bait, lures, whatever. He walks up to the counter, he goes, Scott Siegel, winner of the 2005 Offshore Championship. I just wanted to bury my head, I don't even know what to do. He was right. We come back the next year, the same four of us, walks up to the counter. Hi, Scott Siegel, winner of the 2006 Offshore Championship. It's 75 teams, 35 countries. It's like the Olympics, I'm like, there is no way. He was right. Third year, Charmaine gave birth to Cheyenne like a week or two before. She can't be there. So I bring my ringer, Froggy Cooper. I'm like, we are going to get him. I mean, no disrespect, Charmaine. We were winners. But to her chagrin, we walk up to the counter. He goes, hi, Scott Siegel. I'm looking around like, what the heck? He goes, we're not going to win. I'm not feeling it. It was probably the greatest moment in Charmaine's life. She is always teasing Froggy about that one. But we just had a lot of fun. Then there's Nick Smith. I'm just going to tell you a quick story. Uncanny fishing ability. One day, Alex Castellanos, Robbie Ramirez, and Nick and I are fishing a tournament. We're down off Ajax Reef. We miss a couple fish, which I don't know that we ever missed two in a row. Nick was that good, and he was the angler. I mean, I watched him catch a triple by himself, just stuff that most people don't do. We missed those two fish, no big deal, southeast wind, left kite. We're going to reset. A couple words, we all know what we're doing. Alex and Robbie ripping the kites in, and I push about 12, 14 knots. I don't want to go too fast. I got to give them a little time. I'm going to go 200 or 300 yards. I'm going to pop them out. They're going to come back up. We didn't sting them. They're going to be back. No big deal. All of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, a bait flies inshore across that color change. I'm like, what the heck? I'm doing 12, 14 knots. I look back there, and Nick's like this, feeling it just for a second. He does that about 6 times. I'm looking down like he is screwing me up. I got to get there, and now he's fishing. All of a sudden, he goes, I got picked up. Like, what? Pull it back, closes the bail, got him on. Alex and Robbie are my witness. Then we'd hook fish on the deep line. He'd have them on 10, 15 seconds, hammerhead, sailfish, Anyways, we won a couple sailfish derbies and a whole bunch of other things. Nick, what an honor. Then there's Kit Toomey, Peter Miller. I don't even know how to describe my time and our time with them. Froggy, Charmaine, and I had the privilege of fishing them for 5 seasons. And 2 of the nicest guys. I told Peter the other day, we were fishing together. I said, Pete, I didn't realize how special our team was until years later after I fished, in other situations. I'd think, man, if I just had Kit and Peter down there. It was just amazing 5 years. Thank you so much. Won a couple world championships down in Key West, and I think all 3 derbies, and just had amazing times. Then there's Scott Robbins, a whole bunch of first, biggest marlin, most sailfish, et cetera. Just great times. Harry and Cindy Shuffleberger, Stephanie Choate, all these people that I got to fish with were those riches that don't fit in your wallet. I got to read for a second because I don't want to forget who I wrote. All of these things took me down some roads to fish with some private boat crews like Ed Cattell, Froggy, Greg Newell, Zig, Roy Huff, Shane Pyle, Scotty Alvarez, Matt Niebuhr, Ronnie Reeby Jr., Andy Moyes, Dave Withers, Robbie Moore, Tiny Walcott, Peter Wright, John Lagrone, Charles Perry. The list goes on. And then there were my charter boat family, Alex Castellanos, Robbie Ramirez, Jeffrey Lederman, Nick Carullo, Brett Wilson, Jimmy Jack, Billy Casanavi, Chino Limsang, Carson Rogers, Taylor Powell. That's not all of them. Those are just the ones that I fished with for quite a while. And then there's my crew today, still going strong. Jason Cartwright, I've been 20 plus years together, still going at it. Thank you, brother. Austin Porter, Danny Perez, Matt, JP, Ben, even Dakota and Cheyenne are on that list. I just want to say I love you guys, and thank you for carrying my load day in and day out. I've got to mention, I've had two of the most amazing wives. Brittany's mom, Marcy, Dakota and Cheyenne's mom, Charpaine. They've been nothing less than amazing. With Ed Cattell, Marcy and I won the 1988 Bertram Hatteras Shootout. She gaffed them. Charmaine and I won 13 billfish tournaments and 4 world championships together and a whole bunch of other things that will never be repeated in my life. So I love and cherish all those times that I had with you guys. But the absolute greatest gift that was given to me by those two women were my children. You really didn't have to say all those nice things. It was way overboard, but I really love you guys, and you make me proud. I when I think about my kids, I don't know if we were just dumb or what, but I kind of feel like that movie, when Forrest Gump met his son, and Jenny goes, "That's little Forrest." He goes, "Is he smart or is he like me?" Yeah, thank God they're smarter than me. Anyways, and to the young people in the audience, I just have a few words. Enjoy the journey. Never stop dreaming. Never stop working hard, doing what you say you're going to do. Never give up, even when the odds are against you. Never underestimate the value of your failures, because those are the moments that you learn. Stay in control of your choices. Don't lose everything by making a bad choice to have one thing. Be accountable for your actions. Stay humble as you gain experience, and share it with those people around you as freely as others shared it with you. Become a steward of the resource. Those resources are the gift that keep giving if you take care of them. And remember that someone took care of them before you, and it's your job to take care of them for the next generation. Yeah, IGFA and Wild Oceans, two great organizations. Now for the tough part. I've saved someone really special for the last thank you. My dad. He was a plumber since he was a teenager. Instead of finishing high school, he studied to become a master plumber. He got his license. Back in those days, formal education wasn't what he relied on. He built his reputation with a strong back and old-fashioned values. Don't get me wrong, he's an extremely smart man, and he has passed wisdom on to me continuously, even to today. At age 12, he taught me how to dig a ditch downhill. He taught me how to work hard, and he taught me not to chew my fingernails. I remember in his truck, he carried a toilet box, American Standard. They would put a saying on it. And to this day, I remember he pointed it out to me one day, and he said, never forget this. It said, a man's reputation is built by a lifetime of good works and ruined by one. And I never forgot that, Dad. I was his only son. I went to college for 5 years to study construction management. It was only a 2-year degree, but I fished 5 years, fished 5 days a week, so you kind of get the picture. But you can imagine all these years he put in, he was probably just rubbing his hands for retirement, And then I had the most unfortunate job. I had to tell him, Dad, I want to pursue fishing instead of plumbing. He told me he wanted me to do what I enjoyed the most. You worked really hard, Dad. You worked so hard, and you never got to win an award. So this one's for you, Dad. I love you.
Next up, the Tommy Gifford Award recipient, Captain Brad Simonds. Zach Bentley, will you please come up and start us off?
I don't know how much of a storyteller I am, probably not a great one, but I did prepare, and that I have to thank Captain Brad for. Good evening, my name is Zach Bentley. We are here tonight to honor a group of very special men, but more importantly to me, a dear and respected friend, Captain Brad Simonds. When Brad telephoned me to share with me he would be receiving the Tommy Gifford Award, I was not shocked. But when he proceeded to ask me to be a guest speaker, I was speechless and flattered. I am proud to tell you about my relationship with him both professionally and personally. Rather than tell you about Brad's expertise as a fishing guide and boat captain, I would like to impart how he impacted my life as a mentor and friend. I first met Brad in October 2007 when I contacted him about a job opening as his mate. Our initial trips were a little rough. Brad can be very direct. Don't worry, Brad, I'm not going to roast you. Though the thought is tempting. You may or may not have heard this, and it certainly doesn't say it in his biography, but Brad has a reputation for being hard on his anglers and mates. What a surprise, right? To be honest, I was a slacker. And like most slackers, I was not very good at handling criticism. To top it off, his guidance was always accompanied by perfect grammar, which at the time did not help. Needless to say, I felt offended and, heck, I resented him. Fortunately, it did not take a whole lot of self-reflection to see the truth in his assessments of me. And I began to say to myself, I'll show him. Unwittingly, I set on a course to prove him wrong, and in the process, I became a hard worker. Brad made it clear what was expected of me. And as I demonstrated an interest in meeting those expectations, he would continue to help dial me in. As my work ethic progressed, our relationship began to change. It was the beginning of not only a fishing team, but a friendship that would transcend our work together. As time passed, I learned to respect his consistency for going the extra mile. Lesser individuals would call it superfluous. I know I certainly questioned why we were doing so much extra work. That year in April, we fished our first tournament together. I can recall so clearly watching him storm around the cockpit with that hell-bent walk, sifting through tackle, and then saying with such certainty, we are going to win this tournament. And that's exactly what we did. Came right down to the wire. A last-minute sailfish was the deciding factor. What a feeling. His philosophy is simple. Work harder than everyone else. The application is painstaking. My friends, this is a recipe for success that translates into any sector of life. Furthermore, Brad was always by my side until the job was complete, no matter how menial or basic. His example engendered a sense of loyalty and respect, which is the foundation of our friendship. Our time together broadened my senses and helped me gain a deeper appreciation for preparation and perseverance. His ability to articulate his ideas and prepare for all the challenges one faces on the ocean are exceptional. I have tried to emulate him, and I can say with certainty it has made me a better man. Thank you for your friendship, Brad.
At this time, we'd like to have Captain Anthony Mandello, everybody knows him, come on up and tell us a real good story about Brad.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to introduce and honor one of my closest friends, Captain Brad Simonds. I met Captain Brad in 1989 on Enrique Lima's dock, which I now call home in Isla Mujeres. Brad was always a different kind. Wicked smart, spoke with huge words, as Captain Gary will let us know. He would jog every morning before fishing. I didn't work for him. I worked on another boat, and I got to see this. It was unbelievable. Jog. I couldn't imagine. He always had his family with him. That, to me, as a young mate, was beyond impressive. He's been a role model for me my whole life. He's a dear, dear friend. He's a good man. We could always count on Brad. His fishing accomplishments are endless. As a mate for Frank Mather, or blue marlin fishing in St. Thomas, or fly fishing for sales in Isla Mujeres, Brad's been there, he has seen it, and he has done it better than most. To say that in a room of you guys tonight is saying something. We're here to honor a guy that back in the day of a 1271, you all know what a 1271 is, he carried a spare head in the salon to make sure that he would make his trips. I know Scott Carrigan, he remembers that. We remember getting it off the boat. Those are things that are not common. That's not your run-of-the-mill captain. That's a special case. Brad left the traveling circuit of sport fishing life in 2002 to build a charter boat out of the Keys. He did that to stay closer to his kids and help with that. That, for me, again, is a good role model and a good man. Fortunate for me, for Captain Brad, he gets a little bit of travel in. He gets to come see me in Isla Mujeres. He'll run one of my boats on occasion, usually for tournaments, for some trips. Back-to-back Masters wins. You can't make that up. That's a hard thing to do, and he's done it. Back-to-back. Captain Brad, congratulations. It's an honor to be your friend and see you here tonight. You deserve this. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Anthony. Captain Brad Simonds, please come up to the stage to accept the IGFA Tommy Gifford Award.
The acoustics aren't much, are they? Thank you to Anthony and Zach coming up here saying very nice things about me. Appreciate that from both of you. I'd like to recognize a couple of individuals who made a special effort to be here tonight. My neighbors, my wintertime neighbors, Robert and Joanne Clough, are here all the way from Bangor, Maine. Glad to have you here. Thank you. Carrie Ford and her husband Tracy Jones are here tonight, all the way from Hampton, Virginia. Carrie's dad, Dick Ford, who is still with us at 91 years young, took a chance on a kid, kind of a cocky type of a kid, and he gave me my first captain's job on an absolutely beautiful custom Carolina boat, and I will always appreciate that. So there's an ugly rumor that's circulated around me for a lot of years, and I thought maybe this venue would be the appropriate place to come to terms with it. A mea culpa, perhaps. It's true. A long time ago, I graduated from Princeton University. This, of course, begs the next question. How did a young man with a promising future turn into a mullet gutter? I'm going to blame it in part on Bud and Mary's Marina in Isla Mirada. What a wonderful place. 4 months after I graduated, I landed a job as a deckhand on a charter boat at the marina. When I excitedly called home to describe my good fortune, my parents were decidedly less enthusiastic. For them, things didn't exactly improve right away, because 2 months after I landed at Bud and Mary's, I got a mate's job on a 53-foot Hatteras, which was headed for Cozumel. At that time, a chance to fish Cozumel seemed like unbelievably exotic adventure. 24 hours after we departed Government Cut in Miami, a family friend was drinking his morning coffee and reading the Miami Herald. He came across a single-column story about 6 or 7 pages into the newspaper. It was titled, "Crew Sought, Boat Runs Aground." We had managed to run the Hatteras hard up on the Colorado Reef during the middle of the night. The family friend recognized the boat name from the news story and was left to put a phone call into my folks. "Yep, your son is in Cuban custody." My fishing career has been a play with 2 acts. In the first, I was the eager, obsessed striver. My ambition was to fish what might be described as the Caribbean circuit. Florida Keys in the winter, Isla Mujeres in the spring, St. Thomas all summer, and Venezuela in the fall. I experienced some fabulous fishing in those locations over the years, and perhaps I made some modest contributions to the techniques used to catch billfish on fly and the tactics for bait and switch blue marlin fishing. Fishing the circuit, however, is a young man's game. Over time, the various stresses and anxieties wore me down. A new imperative was affecting me. I needed to be my own boss. Act 2 began in 2001. I contracted with Key West builder Claudia Torres and built a 43-foot single-screw charter boat. More than 20 years later, I'm still running a daily charter business aboard the Southpaw. The glory days of Act One are long over, but the challenge of how are we going to catch fish today remains. I've done a little rough arithmetic and figured I've spent 8,000 days on the water. Frankly, I sure hope I've got another 1,000 or so left in me. It's what I love to do. I'm still eager to get up early every morning and see what the day brings. I'll finish with an old adage you've probably heard but may have forgotten. The joy of fishing is the pursuit of that which is elusive but attainable. Fishing is a perpetual series of occasions for hope. Thank you very much. I'm very honored.
Next on the list, this should be a fun one here. Guy's name is Captain Paul Spencer. Charles Perry, come on up and let it rip. Some of them Carolina stories, I think.
Might be a little difficult reading this because I had to borrow my glasses from Paul. I've known Paul Spencer my entire life. As a matter of fact, we went to the same school, of course at different times. He's a lot younger than he's a lot older than I am, of course. When I was traveling and fishing in other locations around the world, I would come home and fish with Paul in the charter business out of Oregon Inlet or Hatteras whenever he needed a crew member. He developed one of the best charter businesses in the area, and Paul kept an open communication between the bridge and the cockpit all day long. He made fishing fun for everybody. He still does that today. I believe Paul feels about the same way today, and he should be fun. I was fishing with Paul when he discovered the bluefin tunas in '95 off Hatteras. That was sure a fun time. We were friends enough when Paul decided he wanted to build boats. He discussed it with me, and he asked me my thoughts. I tried to talk him out of it. I guess that shows how smart I am. I tried to get him to keep his charter business going while he tried building boats in the winter. He said he didn't have enough money to do that. The only way he could pay for equipment and materials was to sell his boat and his business. I suppose I'm not a gambler. I'm not the gambler he was. Now, over 120 beautiful sport fishing boats later, it's easy to see, Paul, you did the right thing. Paul has put many enthusiastic sport fishermen on the water with pride. He builds a type of boat that looks beautiful, runs fast, and raises fish. Raises fish for him anyway. He took the number 2 hull that he built back in 2001 and fished a few tournaments up and down the East Coast. He won over $1.5 million, plus ran past all the other boats going and coming. Paul may say that he was lucky. I say he created some of the luck himself. That's definitely the way to sell boats. Run past everyone and catch more fish than they do. We all know that one of the most important things in any of our lives is family. Paul was made sure that any family members that wants to work in the boat building industry has a spot in Spencer Yachts. With all the cousins, brothers, daughters, sons, he has almost enough family to run the whole business.
I have one more thing to say about Paul Spencer. And during my life, I have witnessed success and money that changed a lot of people. Sometimes not always for the better. Paul Spencer is still the same man that I chartered fish with back in the 80s. I truly don't believe that there's a single one of us that deserves the honor more than Paul Spencer.
Next up, we're going to have Cliff and Daniel would like to say a few words. They're Paul Spencer's kids here. Come on up, guys.
I got to put these on too. Ladies and gentlemen, as I stand before you, I'm filled with immense pride and gratitude for the extraordinary life my father's lived. From the very beginning, he's been drawn to the lure of the sea and the thrill of the catch. His journey began as a charter mate fishing out of Oregon Inlet with guys like Chick Craddock and Omi Tillett, who helped him hone his skills and share his love for fishing with countless others. But my father was an ambitious man, and with unwavering determination, he took a leap of faith, sold his charter business, and ventured into the world of boat building. And let me tell you, it was a gamble that paid off good. I don't know where I'd be today without it. His talent for crafting exquisite vessels became widely recognized. His boats, like his fishing talent, soon became renowned for their beauty and craftsmanship, sailing proudly on the open ocean. But my father, to me, he's everything. He has been nothing short of extraordinary. He has been my mentor, my compass, my confidant. He has taught me the value of hard work, perseverance, and staying true to oneself no matter the circumstances. His unwavering support and unconditional love have shaped me into the person I am today. This evening, as we honor my father's award, let us remember that greatness is not merely measured by trophies or accolades. It's measured by the lives we touch, the legacies we leave behind, and the goodness that we bring into the world. My father's greatness lies not only in his professional achievements, but in his unwavering commitment to being a good person, a father, a mentor, and an example to us all. This evening, I do not have a drink, but I would like you all to give a toast. So let us raise our glasses to celebrate a remarkable journey of a man who never ceases to amaze. To my father, an angler, a dreamer, and a true hero, may your legacy continue to inspire us both on and off the water. May your dreams sail on, may your friendships endure, and may your spirit guide us always. Thank you, Dad.
Well, I stand before you this evening. I'd like to congratulate all the inductees, Ray, Carl, Brad, Gene, and my father Paul on all your great accomplishments. It's very impressive to hear the stories and learn from you men. Here, Dad, wow, man, I'm pretty impressed for us to be here tonight. We've caught some fish, built a couple of boats along the way. Now you're the man in the light tonight. Most of you know Captain Paul Spencer as a boat builder and a fisherman, but I'm lucky to know him as Dad. Most of the time now as Pablo, so. Growing up in a household of 5 children, I quickly learned that being on the boat with Dad is where I wanted to be. He taught me many life lessons on that boat. Summers charter fishing, cold winters commercial fishing, which eventually turned into boat shop life. During these times, my dad taught me many lessons, from handling fish around the boat to properly securing the boat through hurricanes. At that time, I considered that the best lessons there was to learn. But now I know the best lessons was the role model that he displayed by never leaving our driveway without teaching me to say a prayer. And most of the time, he might forget, but we'd stop at the next red light. You know him, that would work just as good for him. Him also being one of the first to volunteer in the mornings to bless our fleet and families in the morning. I enjoyed that opportunity. I'd get to run the boat for a few miles each morning while he would say the fleet blessing. Many mornings as a child, I would wake up to him coming in my bedroom door and just coming in, turn the lights on. He'd always ask me, "Boy, you have any tests today in school? I need a mate." And of course, my answer was, "No, Daddy." I didn't care what we had going on. So when I think back of these trips with Dad, all that's good, I'm not able to pinpoint just one of them. There's so many fun things we've had, from towing boats across the inlet at midnight and him having to call a patrol car to put lights on the center span of the bridge so we would know where the inlet is to even come through it. It was so bad. To catching some tournament-winning fish. But the best today is when I'm still trying to get him to go burn more fuel every day instead of going to work. I remember a day he came to us and he told us he was selling the boat. He was going to build one. I then learned quickly we had to build a building before we could build a boat. So, at about the age of 13, I learned I had to get my homework done on the school bus, as I was to help him work on the boat in the afternoons after that. So I started looking into child labor laws, because speedboarding is not near as fun as skipping school for fishing. I remember one night he had us in that barn. We had to paint an engine room of the boat. And of course, we didn't have really good masks, and staging boards were definitely not OSHA approved. So my job was to hold the pot up on the boat and walk around and feed the paint to the pot while he's down in the boat, spraying the engine room, working his way out, of course. I'm trying to do the best in my job, and he's down there for quite some time, that little paper mask. He makes his way out of the boat and out of the boat shop into the night. Kind of swings out into the dark, falls down. I went and checked on him. He told me to clean the gun, get it ready. I'm probably never worked again. I went out and checked on him, and he told me I go out there and get on him. He's sitting in the truck. He told me to get in the passenger seat and drive us home. So I guess he was teaching me about driver's ed at 13 that night. That's what I learned. We got better masks now. It's better. From the boat shop in the winter to running charters in the summer, Pablo was always teaching, leading, educating me. I always wonder how he made everything look so easy and stressless. He'd have 10 to 12 boats under construction, 150 employees at one time, and he was also the bishop of our church for 5 years, right in the middle of all this. He kept a wife happy and 5 children alive. So many days I'd have a question for him. I would go ask him. Anytime before I'd ask him, I'd go up to him and say, "Dad, who am I speaking to tonight? Is it my dad, the bishop, the boss, or Pablo?" His answer was, "I'm all of them, boy." So, okay. Through his many accomplishments as a fisherman and a boat builder, you can always find him with his little purple bag, walking around, looking for his missing glasses, phone, wallet, passport. If you're lucky enough to go fishing with him, be prepared for a full day of joking, pranking, along with his yacht rock radio, if we can get it. So tonight I'd like to thank Dad for the lessons, the memories that you've given me, and the IGFA for selecting my dad, Captain Paul Spencer, to be the Crew Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Dad. We love you.
All right, Captain Paul Spencer, come on up. As the IGFA presents you the Tommy Gifford Award.
Boy, what a night. That wasn't at all what I thought you were going to hear. They might have laid it on a little thick, but I got a wonderful family. I'm proud of that. I thought maybe you'd hear some stories about, when the boys were mates and they'd kind of mess up a little bit and miss a gaffer or something. I'd wait till the ride home and I'd like, now we're going to talk about this. Oh, there was a lot of those, but I'm glad they kind of left them out. But I'm truly humbled to be here in front of you tonight. What an awesome group this is, and to be honored by your peers is amazing. there's people here that were my heroes. I got to fish with people like Omi Tillett and Tony. Chip Schaefer's here. You know, these were all mentors. And Charles, you know, when I was 14 or 15 and my first deep sea job, Charles was catching all these blue marlin and these a little kid going up and asking him, and he'd take time and teach me, and he was good to us. He taught me a lot. Now, to be able to have spent time with him, we fished together. I got to go to Australia. Dan got to catch a grander on the boat with Charles, and fishing has just carried me to so many places and to so many levels. It's unbelievable. You know, chase your dreams and passions. You know, I was enamored with boats and fishing when I was a kid. My brothers were going off and being doctors and lawyers, and I'm sure my parents thought, this kid, he just wants to fish, you know. So, but chase your dreams and passions. I'm going to tell you about one fish story. So, my best catch. I'd like my wife, Shelley, to stand up. If ever there was a best catch, there it is. We've just celebrated 50 years together, and what a woman. You know, thank you. As was mentioned, one time I came home, and we'd been raising 5 kids on a charter boat salary, and you know how that is. You have a little breakdown, and we drove a ratty truck, and I said, this ain't working. We got to do something. I said, I think I'm going to sell everything we got and try to build a boat. And you know what she said? Okay. That was awesome. Tonight, if I call your name, please stand. My children, Tracy, Stacy, Cliff, Dan, and Amy, would you please stand up? And their spouses now are with them. Please stand up. Most of my 12 grandchildren are here. Please stand up. I have one great-grandchild. She's not old enough to be here, but anyway, that's my biggest accomplishment, you know, and I could no way achieve some of the things I've been able to do without the support of that wonderful family. And I just want to thank them for all their support. I don't have a big speech for you tonight, but just to tell you I'm humbled to be here in front of you is an understatement. Where I grew up, a kid who had a rowboat and dreamed of a 10-horse outboard motor was a big deal, you know, and just chasing our dreams of fishing has carried us to unbelievable places. When I was a charter fisherman, I had friends that would go off around the world fishing, and I'd like, boy, one day, if I could just do that, the Bahamas, I wonder what that's like, you know. But I have 5 kids, so I figured I'd hang around. Well, life changes, and, you know, it's afforded me to fish in some of the greatest places in the world with some of the greatest people in the world, and a lot of them are here tonight. I have friends from California. Dale, thank you so much for coming from California just to be with me tonight. My buddy Steve from home. This is just an unbelievable opportunity for me, and I'm truly humbled, and I'm going to leave that and say thank you very much. Thank you.
One more story. I want one more story. One more story.
Skip asked me to tell you one more story, and it's true, so I'm going to tell it. I told you I got to fish in some wonderful places, so I was over in the Azores, and and we were catching some really big fish. Well, we went out to eat one night, and they had reservations at this world-famous place, some world-famous chef. They said it took a month to get the reservations. We ate a 9-course meal. I paid for it, and Lord, it was a lot of money. I don't know why. And when we got back to the boat, I said, I don't feel so good. How do you boys feel? And they said, oh, we're good. I said, I ain't doing so good. Anyway, I got food poisoning, terrible food poisoning. And we were fishing on a Viking. Don't tell nobody else that. But so we had to travel. We were moving from one island to another, going up to Horta that night. And so I was laying in the bow of that Viking. And we were pounding along, just sick as a dog. I thought I'd die. And I truly remember saying, Lord, don't let me die on a Viking. I said, if it was a Spencer, you could take me, but don't let me die on a Viking. Anyway, true story.
Our final honoree tonight is Captain Gene Vander Hoek, who joined us all the way from Kona, Hawaii. Would Mark Davis please come on up here and tell us a little bit more about Gene?
Hi, I'm Mark Davis, and I'm an alcoholic. Seriously, I'm a trustee for the IGFA, and I couldn't be more proud. And Scott Kerrigan outside said to me, he goes, basically everybody I've known in the last 50 years in the fishing business is here. This is pretty cool. So first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to all the other recipients tonight. And now I'm going to tell you a couple stories about Gene. So I was going to Hawaii. I'm a native Californian. I'd never been to Hawaii. I'd never fished Hawaii. I was 45 years old. I had a 1.5-year-old son, and I couldn't go somewhere super exotic. I needed a place with amenities. I asked my buddy Rick Gaffney, hey, who should I fish with? And he said, you should fish with Gene. Okay. I booked 3 days with Gene. Show up the first morning, get on the boat, I'm on time, everything is good. And permission to come up on the bridge, sir. Come on up. I'm sitting on the bridge, and we're talking, and I'm tapping, and my wedding ring is hitting a piece of teak. And he looks at me and he goes, do you know how long it takes to sand and varnish this boat? Yeah. I said, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Anyway, Gene, as our years went on, if I was downstairs and I let one of the box lids down too hard, hey, easy with that lid. He loved, just like he loved fishing, he would take care of that boat like nobody's business. He would, if you weren't fishing right, if you were doing something wrong in the chair, he would let you know. And he wasn't in a gentle way either. I remember my business partner, who I've been in business for 32 years, was on the boat. And Gene and him were hooked up on a big fish, and they were backing down on the fish. And my partner, I don't know, had something wrong with his shoulder, and he took his hands off the reel, and Gene gave him what for. I mean, really gave him what for. And I get a call back in L.A. from Gene. Gene would always let me know. And he goes, you're going to get a call. 2 minutes later, my partner calls, your captain yelled at me, blah, 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 blah. And I go, look, you probably were doing something wrong. You probably had it coming. It just, you did things the right way, and you learned, and I learned how to fish from Marlin with Gene. Most of you know Bob Kurtz and Sally Kurtz. Bob and Sally chartered the boat for a week. Sally was trying to catch a spear to finish her billfish Grand Slam. Gene calls me, goes, you're going to get a call. Bob Kurtz calls me 2 minutes later, Bob yelled at Sally. And I go, I'm thinking, I'm sure it was the first day of 7 days. I have to calm him down. I called Gene. Well, anyway. But Gene, like I said, there was no better teacher. In all the years, Gene developed a name for me. He would call me Last Day Davis. When we were looking for a fish or whatever it was, I would inevitably always catch the fish on the last day. I got a nickname for Gene. We were fishing. My son was on the boat, and it had been a pretty uneventful week. I think Wes caught his first My son caught his first blue marlin, but other than that, it was a really slow week, maybe a big yellowfin. It was the last day, 7 days. I think it was in June. We usually didn't fish June, but we did this year. And it was 3:30, last afternoon, heading to the harbor. And that week, for some reason, we were running a stinger. We never ran a stinger. We always ran 4 lures. And I'm looking at Jen, and I go, well, we did. Hey, we got Wes's his blue, and he goes, right here, right now. Zing! The stinger goes off. 500-pound blue makes the week. This went on. I would bring people out to Hawaii who had never caught a marlin before, and there was never one time we didn't get that person their fish in one day. They'd only fish one day. They knew I was going to drag them out on the boat, and we'd always get the fish. I was getting an award a few years back. Neil Horton was the president, and I'd never met him. I came up on stage, and Neil whispered in my ear, he goes, hey, I need a spearfish to finish my slam. And I said, all right, well, call me. Let me know when you're going to be in Hawaii. He was going to be there for the Hawaiian billfish tournament. We had one day. Gene got him his spear. I called him the miracle worker. It never ended. And in one particular, last year, we were on the boat, and it was my daughter's boyfriend, and brought him out on, I fished the week, brought him down on the last day. We fished the whole day at 3 o'clock with maybe a half hour to go, because we'd start at 6 in the morning. Half hour to go, hooks a blue marlin. We broke a 9-aught Joe Boo, right? Never break them, right? Oh, well, I guess that's it. I looked at Gene and I go, bet you can't do it again. And he gives me that look like when I tapped on the teeth that time. And he goes, you had to say it, didn't you? By 3:30, we caught that blue. So just an uncanny ability. I've fished with a lot of great captains, and a lot of them are in this room. But I'll tell you what, it's like Jerry West, it's like crunch time. When push comes to shove, that's the guy I want to be with. 32 world records. Proud to say I was number 27 and 28. Dominated the Pacific tag and release for 25 years for blue marlin and spearfish. And the only captain in the history of the Pacific to land 4,000-pound blue marlin. So I got Gene into the hunting thing. We've fished and hunted all over the world together. He's my friend. I love him. And I'm so proud to be here to do this tonight. And Captain, oh my Captain.
One more speaker here, and now please welcome George Handis to the stage.
My name's George Handis. My wife Sharon walked me up here. This isn't about me; it's about Gene Vander Hoek. But I'll give you a couple of things to get to straighten things out. Firstly, I haven't been on a boat in 11 years, except for one time when my neurosurgeon came over and wanted to catch a blue. We got him one. Tagged it or let it go. 11 years ago, I was in a hit and run, a pedestrian hit and run. They left me on the ground. It was a valet at a hotel. I was DOA. I was in a coma for 62 days with no brainwaves, declared dead 2 more times, hospital 7 months, and here I am standing in front of you. I'm considered, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm considered a miracle, an anomaly. There's a book being written. And I'll just add this. They can't find any medical or scientific reason why I lived, much less I'm able, this is all gone, much able to speak. Woke up speaking a couple of languages, Sylvia. The only thing that they could tell was that Sharon stayed with me 24/7, praying for 7 months. So here I am. It was a hell of a trip. I heard the word shit before, so that's probably safe. I could probably say some funny things, but I think I'm just going to let my heart speak. I haven't written anything. Gene Vander Hoek is going to get a chance to come up here and speak soon. Honey? Thanks. and it's about Gene, but I didn't write anything. I said, oh, I can read somebody else's stuff. I couldn't add anything to what was said. Nothing. I mean, everything's been covered. And as I was sitting here, I started to think, I could tell you a few fish stories. And I'm not into the hyperbole, so world-class anglers, deckhands, captains, guides are here in this room. So I don't need to do that. I mean, you look at the top 5, and that's just 5. There's another 10 or 15 here. So Vander Hoek, Gene, and I am going to ramble. I'm sorry. Please be patient with me. If I start to talk too long, please come up and get me, or start banging with an eating implement on your glass, Bob. Thank you for your patience. I haven't spoken in front of a group more than 15 one time in 11 years. This has really taken a hell of a lot out of me, as did the trip to get here. But I wouldn't miss it because it's Gene Vander Hoek. And thank you. And getting up here takes a lot. But there are so many kind people here, and maybe not everybody, but just hello, aloha, hey, how you doing? That's good stuff. We were at Mark Davis's last night for a little cocktail party. Met some of the nicest people, including a doctor that looked at me and knew what happened, and he was like, holy shit, you shouldn't even. No, he did. He says, I can't believe you're walking, much less being able to talk. It is rare and it is unique. And so instead of talking about fishing, you heard enough. Gene will tell you some stories. His owner of CGNE2, you heard some things from Mark. I'm going to talk about Gene Vander Hoek, the man. Known him for 30. Am I okay? Okay, I thought he was going to catch hell. By the way, somebody said 50 years. Next month, we're 50 years. And she's always been a better angler than I've been, but that's a different story. Gene Vander Hoek, I've known 35 years. I had a charter boat in Kona. First time I bought it, I had a couple hardware stores I sold in California. Took some time off and went to Hawaii because I always wanted to catch a fish, because I read an article by Rick Gaffney, who would be here tonight. He's an IGF rep for the Pacific at large. He would be here, but he had a knee surgery that came up. He didn't make it. Sends his aloha. And Gene is how Rick Gaffney is how Mark Davis. I'm fishing on CGNE2. So everybody thought I was a deckhand on the boat. Only my owner, or our owner, knew that I owned the boat. But Gene watched me, as a couple other people did, and thought, God, what a kind guy. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but that's great. God, I was a sissy boy. I remember we wore 64 rubber bands on our wrists, if anybody does that. Sure made one with rhinestones for me. One with rhinestones for me. You did. So Vander Hoek, my captain would only let me drive in a straight line when I drove. Vander Hoek got a hold of me, and he said, let's go out on my boat. The CGNE2 then. I said, why do you want me to go on your boat? He says, I'm going to teach you to back down and park. He did. He took me out to about 500 fathoms, and he threw fenders out. And he had me back the boat down. Think about that for a moment. Pretty great, Gene. Pretty great stuff. A little more personal is our grandson was 10 years old. He knew he was dying. He was terminally ill. Came for a few weeks. This is in Arizona. Gene put him on the boat and made him the captain for a day. How do you put a price on that? Our grandson, very rare, there's only 3 kids have adrenal leukodystrophy. It was tragic. I'm feeling very comfortable now talking. Thank you very much. Gene, so Jonathan, it took a little while to say, even I love you, because he had a whiteboard and look. And he said, and Sharon's done a little fishing, and he goes, tutu is Hawaiian for grandmother. And so I said, is there anything, it took a while, like 10 minutes, is there anything you want? This is in Kona. And he said, because he could talk very quickly, he says, I want a world record. And then I said, excuse me, I want an IGFA world record. Okay, we just don't get them all the time. We don't get them all the time. And he goes, well, Tutu does. And we go back and forth, waiting to hear the next thing, and he wasn't. He said, this is a dying boy at 9 years old. He said, you need to understand. My nickname for me was GG, Grandma George. You need to understand that if you believe in yourself and you believe in God, you can do anything. We took him out the next day, and he banged an IGFA world record, Skipjack Jr. The IGFA, and I think her name was Kathy, we're big supporters of the IGFA, rushed the world record through. And it came in 3 weeks later, the day before he lost his sight. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The fishing, everybody's together. I don't care if you go to Walmart and you buy some Zebco thing and you catch bluegill or perch, or I don't know if Johnny Morris is going to give you a plug for Bass Pro, or you go to Bass Pro and you get some stuff. But everybody's in this together. It really is a wonderful way of getting people together. And it's a great equalizer. There's two kinds of people, bullshitters and fishermen. I have no idea where that came from. Vander Hook. Gene changed our lives, Sharon and I, and we moved to Kona full time. Gene Vander Hook is a good captain, he's a good angler. Yeah, there's some other good ones. We're a little prejudiced, Mark. But I've been around, I've been in business, been to every state, run some big companies and stuff like that. When it comes to, he's an incredible father. Not respectfully a typical captain, and there's some great captains, but 90%, I'm being blunt, I'm very direct, 90% don't put their children first. Vander Hook does. And father, he has, life isn't a game, it's not, but if integrity, an unwavering moral compass, honesty, courage, bravery, patience are the measure of a woman or a man, Gene's already won the game of life. Gene's won the game of life. I know for a fact he's released world records. You look at, there's some dead fish up there. Oh, Jesus, who's that? Oh, God. Can we turn this off? It's okay. I'm just making a fool out of myself, which I'm used to. So you saw some dead fish. He's got 4 blues over 1,000. I know for a fact he's released IGFA world records. We've fished with him several places, and I was seeing Guy earlier, Tropic Star. I still think that fly rod fish on, we'll talk later, Gene. Vander Hook and Rick Gaffney, along with a husband and wife that bought the charter desk, are pretty much responsible for changing the way fish are caught in Kona and what happens to them. And that's from a kill, photo, dispose. Some of the fish just discarded at the dump back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, to CPR, catch, photo, release. He compensated his deckhands for releasing fish. In Hawaii, part of, charter boats that were $700 in San Diego or $1,200 in Miami were like $350 in Kona, so they'd augment their income selling the fish, and marlin were eaten in fish cakes and that stuff. So he was the leading edge. I think Gene, by reputation, released his second marlin at 17 years old. Gene Vander Hook and Rick Gaffney are the two Rick's is a captain, but not in Gene's league, and he does some other stuff like sell boats. Gene almost single-handedly changed to a tag or catch and release fishery. And that might not sound like a big deal, but I've lived there 35 years, dealing with the local guys with the skiffs and the 17 and 18-foot boats, taking mai, dolphin, dorado, that's one thing, or wahoo ono, or ahi, thunis albicara's, big eyes, and yellowfins is one thing. But going out and killing marlin after marlin, I know for a fact he had threats against him, serious threats, and he stood tall. Stood tall. I think he moved, his dad moved him, then moved to Kona. I don't know. Gene, you were like 12 or something? Oh, he's ignoring me. So that's what I heard. I'm sorry, I hear a bell. I'm standing here because we came for Gene, and that's an honor. And I'm going to end by, I'm only standing here because of Gene and because of God and my wife, and I thank you all very much.
Now, Captain Gene Vander Hoek, come on up and get your Tommy Gifford Award.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank you, Uncle George. I certainly have a lot of people to thank tonight. As all of you know, ours is a team sport, and I've been truly blessed with great teammates. It all starts with good ownership. Mr. Jeffrey Meyer, who was responsible for building the CGN-E2, and then wisely led us into the world of billfish conservation. Then it was Mark and Wendy Davis who headed the group that bought the Rybovich after Mr. Meyer's passing in '06. That resulted in 12 very important seasons that it's quite possible we wouldn't be here without them. Also, a huge thank you to Dave Linkowitz, who was there with his support when the call was made. And I hope Mark and Dave know that I love them both like brothers. I want to shout out to Rick Gaffney, who made that so important phone call in '07. Could have gone a couple different ways, but thank God he called us. As we speak, our beautiful 42 game fishermen, the game plan, is on her way to Hawaii. I'd like to thank my new boss, Bob Holding, and the entire Holding family for making this happen. Thank you to all the anglers around the world who believed in us and traveled such great distances to fish Kona's famed blue marlin grounds. Some of those are here tonight, and I can't thank them enough for taking the time to be here. Mark and Wendy, Wes Davis. Mark has held multiple world records. Both Mark and Wes are award-winning anglers, and the entire Davis family has multiple IGFA billfish Royal Slams. Uncle George, who you just met at great length, and his wonderful wife, Sharon Hanges. She broke 2 world records in one day. That was quite a deal. George was the winning angler on top of the toughest tuna battle I've ever been a part of. Also, Dave's here. He's a 3-time billfish fly rod world record holder. Rick Benitez and his family. Rick was actually like the first IGFA billfish Royal Slam member for us and came to Kona seeking his billfish. Kind of opened a real can of worms there, Ricky. You know, Bob Holding and Pal Holding, they've caught more blue marlin, over 500 on stand-up, than anybody we know in Kona. Donald Sanders, a longtime client and friend, he's been patiently waiting for the new boat to arrive, and just hang in there, Donald. It's almost there. Dr. Gary White, he weighed a grander on his first trip to Kona. Try topping that. All of our anglers have come to know that we have not been as successful over the years without our outstanding crewmen. Trust me when I say that they have all earned a piece of this award. Captains Mike Arujo, Kevin Nakamaru, Guy Twilliger, Carlton O'Rye, David Crawford, Bronson Kablai, Chris Choi, Scott Pruner, Jack Leverone, O.B. Keith Morton, Sam Choi Jr. I love all these guys. A very large thank you to the writers Rick Gaffney and Jim Rizzuto for all the nice things they wrote about us over the years. Also, I'd like to thank my mechanic publicly, Diesel Dan Isaacson, for keeping us on God's pond for 35 years. I would be missing the mark for sure if I didn't include two of my favorite lure makers. They were responsible for literally hundreds and hundreds of blue marlin. Captain Scott Crampton and Big Weston Leslie. Sadly, both are no longer with us, but they know how much I love them for sure. I'd like to thank Tracy and Andrew at Milton's, and thank you so much to the IGFA and the selection committee. Finally, I would like to close with what a tremendous honor this is to be included in this legendary group. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the legendary Captain Crew Committee and the IGFA, I want to thank you all for joining us this evening. We appreciate you supporting this event. But really, it's a really special night for the recipients of the Tommy Gifford Award and their families. We applaud all of you tonight, inductees and past recipients. And again, thank you all. Let's have a great night. Good night, everybody.